In the previous movie, I demonstrated how to create a film loop. Film loops behave just like any other cast members with a few important exceptions. Notice that when you step through an animation that contains a film loop like I have here, or by dragging the playhead, called scrubbing the playhead through the animation, notice that the film loop doesn't animate. Animation only occurs when the movie is actually running, so I need to rewind and then play the movie. Notice now that film loop is in fact running, the ball is spinning. Also, you can't apply ink effects to a film loop. Let's demonstrate that by clicking on the sprite. And notice that I have my ink settings here. And I'm setting various inks. None of them have any effect on the sprite. If you want to use ink effects with a film loop, you'll need to apply them to sprites that make up the animation before you turn the animation into a film loop. That would be the original sprites there in the cast window. Remember from the previous movie, you can also go out to the source of the film loop. That would be these sprites out here. And to those sprites, you can indeed add ink effects. Let's go ahead and choose one that's very blatant. There's one there. So you can see that that loop now has incorporated that ink. If we go back to the original here, notice that the ink does not carry through to the film loop. What you would need to do is go back to the source here and drag another copy of this source into the cast window, give it a new name, and now this film loop will indeed carry through the ink settings that I set up earlier. Notice that there is the new ink. Notice also it's not animating since I'm not playing back the movie. And the last difference that I should point out is that lengthening or shortening a sprite that contains a film loop doesn't affect how fast the film loop plays. It changes the number of times the film loop cycles. So you'll notice that no matter how many, let's go ahead and look at film loop 4 here, no matter how many frames this covers, that ball is going to spin at the same rate. If I stretch out the sprite span, it's just going to change the number of times that it rotates at that speed. Let's go ahead and clear all this out of the way so you can see a demonstration of this. So that ball is spinning. It's not spinning any slower or faster based on the number of frames that it covers. I'm just dictating how many times it spins there and not the speed. To see or adjust the properties of the film loop cast member, such as to determine if a film loop is cropped or scaled within a sprite's bounding rectangle, or to make the film loop repeat or mute its sound, you want to set its properties for the film loop cast member. To do this, select the film loop cast member in the cast window right here. Let's choose my first demonstration of my film loop right there, and then choose Window, Property Inspector. And that'll bring open the Property Inspector here. Let me move my control panel out of the way there so you can see this. Click on the Property Inspector there to bring that open. Let's bring that out so I can see it a bit better. You want to click the Member tab here in the Property Inspector. I don't see it there, so make sure that the cast member is selected there in the cast window, and then make sure the Member tab is selected. So the following non-editable settings are displayed. Notice the size right here, 1.2K for the cast member. The cast member creation and edit dates here. The name of the last person who modified the cast member. Right now it says not available. You can also view and edit the cast member name right here in the name field. You can Also add comments about the cast member here in the comments section at the bottom of the Property Inspector. The unload setting here, the drop-down menu, normal, next, last, and never, specifies how director removes the cast member from memory if memory is low. Normal sets a selected cast member to be removed from memory after all priority 2 cast members have been removed. And that would be the next setting there, the number 2. Next sets the selected cast members to be among the first removed from memory. So first the number 2 categories will be removed, and then number 3. Then number 1, last, sets the selected cast members to be the last removed from memory, and 0, never, sets the selected cast members to be retained in memory. These cast members, as it states here, are never unloaded from memory. Next, click the Film Loop tab here in the Property Inspector. This will determine how the film loop appears within the sprite bounding rectangle, either framing crop or framing scale. Crop makes the movie image appear at its default size. Any portions that extend beyond the sprite's rectangle are not visible. Scale fits the movie inside the bounding rectangle. The next settings here determine how the film loop plays back. Audio, if you have the audio option checked, plays the sound portion of the film loop. I didn't demonstrate it in my example, but you can also include an audio file up there in the score and then drag and drop that onto an open position here in the cast window, and that will allow you to include sound in your film loops. And then the loop option replays the film loop continuously from the beginning to the end and then back to the beginning. So there you have a real interesting animation technique called film loops. Let me now move on to several of my favorite animation techniques in Director: step recording and real-time playback recording.